everybody. Welcome to Red Rock Church. We're excited that you're here with us. If you're in the room, go ahead and stand. And if you're joining us online, we're so excited that you're here today. We believe that Jesus has changed our lives completely and that he can change yours too. So we're going to give our thanks and our gratitude to him for who he is. So come on, sing it out and sit in these lyrics. Come on, we sing. The weapon may be formed, but it won't prosper. And when the darkness falls, it won't prevail. 'Cause the God I serve knows only how to triumph. Oh, my God will never fail. Do you believe that today? Oh, my God will never fail. We sing out that I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. We serve a mighty God. We sing there's power. There's power in the mighty name of Jesus. And every war he wages, he will win. Oh, I'm not backing down from any giant. No, 'cause I know how the story ends. Yes, I know how the story ends. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you. Come on, we sing in faith. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. So come on, we serve a mighty God today who wants the best for you, who believes in you, and who has a plan for your future. So we sing out in that confidence today. Come on, you take. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. That's what he does. You turn it for good. Come on, you take. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. Come on, he takes it all. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. He's turning it around. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. Come on, you sing. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Yeah. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. So God, we give you our hearts today. Lord, would you invade our space with your peace, God, with your presence, Lord. We give it to you. I don't wanna be afraid just because I hear the waves. I don't wanna be afraid. I don't wanna be afraid. I don't wanna fear the storm just because I hear it roar. Now I don't wanna fear the storm. No, I don't wanna fear the storm. Peace be still, say the word, and I will set my feet upon the sea till I'm dancing in the deep. Oh, peace be still, you are here, so it is well. Even when my eyes can't see, I will trust the voice that speaks. Now I'm not gonna be afraid, 'cause these waves are only waves. I'm not gonna be afraid. I'm not gonna be afraid. No, I'm not gonna fear the storm. You are greater than its roar. I'm not gonna fear the storm. No, I'm not gonna fear it all. Peace be still, say the word, and I will set my feet upon the sea till I'm dancing in the deep blood. Peace be still, you are here, so it is well. Even when my eyes can't see, I will trust the voice that speaks. Peace, peace over me. Oh, Jesus, let your peace come. We stir up our faith. We stir up our faith. So come on, we let it rise up today. So let faith rise up, oh heart, believe. Let faith rise up in me. Come on, command yourself to do it. So let faith rise up, and oh heart, believe. Let faith rise up in me. It's a prayer today. So let faith rise up, oh heart, believe. Let faith rise up in me. Oh, let faith rise up, oh heart, believe. Let faith rise up in me. Peace be still, say the word, and I will set my feet upon the sea till I'm dancing in the deep blood. Peace be still, you are here, so it is well. Even when my eyes can't see, I will trust the voice that speaks. Peace, peace over me. Oh, peace, peace over me. Let your peace rise up, Lord. Fill this place. So God, we stir up our faith. 'Cause you're good to your promises. 'Cause you're kind, Lord, and faithful God. Let faith rise up. Let faith rise up. Oh heart, is a promise that points beyond my failures. There is a still voice to silence all my fears. Even the worst of my mistakes are miracles in the making. Miracles in the making. By your stripes I am healed. With one touch I am made whole. You have spoken, and I know that it is so. In the storm, you are peace, and your love won't let me go. You have spoken, and I know that it is so. Oh no. In every season, your purpose is unchanging. In every moment, you're working for my good. Jesus, the rock that never fails. Your kingdom will not be shaken. Your kingdom will not be shaken. By your stripes I am healed. With one touch I am made whole. You have spoken, and I know that it is so. Oh, in the storm, you are peace, and your love won't let me go. You have spoken, and I know that it is so. Oh no, I already know you're gonna do it. You're faithful to your word. I put my trust on you. You're a trustworthy God. 'Cause your word is settled in heaven. It will be done. Father, let it be done. Yours is the kingdom forever. Your will be done. Oh, let it be done. Your word is settled in heaven. It will be done. Father, let it be done. Yours is the kingdom forever. Your will be done. Oh, let it be done. Your word is settled in heaven. It will be done. Father, let it be done. Yours is the kingdom forever. Your will be done. Oh, let it be So we praise you, Lord. You're good, God. Come on, give him
And come on, man. Who's thankful that no matter what the future looks like, we're good? Like when you follow Jesus, man, the future can be crazy and uncertain, and you're good. You know He's got you covered. Like that's the part of that song that as I'm singing that, and we're in that moment together, whether you're watching with us online or you're here in the room, and that phrase, your word is settled in heaven. Let it be done. Like that's a confident phrase to say about the future. Like that's a crazy lyric to sing right now in the midst of our world and how much uncertainty there is. But Like, you just need to know that if you're here in the room with us or if you're watching online and you don't really believe in Jesus, you're not quite sure about all this yet, and you have no idea how a group of people could come together and sing that with that kind of confidence, you need to know it's because many of us in the room, our lives have been changed by Jesus, and we've got a history of walking with him. We've got a history of him leading us through some really, really uncertain times. I mean, is there anybody else in here that's been through some uncertainty and Jesus has led you through? Is everybody with a grateful heart today for what Jesus has done in that regard? Anybody online with the gratitude? I'm telling you, man, like, that's why we want you so badly to continue considering who Jesus is. Because we can sit back in a time like this in our country, and as followers of Jesus, we can say, his word is settled. His word is settled. It's done. Like, the future of those who follow Jesus is good. It may not be comfortable. It may not be exactly what we want, but it's good. And so many of us have got the history with him to know that, man, that's what we want you to come to know so bad, is if you'll follow Jesus, if you'll start following him, you will see that life is just so good. It is so good with him. And so, man, I want to pray that for us today, that each of us, no matter where we are, kind of on that faith spectrum, whether we're just getting started, we've been following him for years, I'm praying that today he would grow our trust in him, grow our confidence in him, and that we would just see that he's really, really good. So, man, let me pray that for us right now, and for those of us that are watching online. Jesus, we love you. We are in the middle of such chaotic times. For many of us, this is the most chaotic time we've ever seen in our lives. And we look to the future, and it's so uncertain, and there's so much to be determined. But we know that there's some things that are not to be determined, some things that are already determined. That your word is settled on these things, that you love us, that you're for us, that you're real, that you're present, that you're going to work in this, that you've given your people a hope and a future. And no matter if it's painful, no matter if it's difficult, we know you're never going to leave us. You're never going to forsake us. And we've got the God who created the heavens and the earth, who is right there with us every step of the way. And God, we just love you for that. We love you for that. We did not deserve in any way that kind of love, but you give it to us freely. And so, God, man, I pray for anyone that's watching online, anyone that's here in the room, who's considering you, who's trying to seek you out and trying to get to know you more. I pray that today you would just grow their awareness of you, grow our awareness of you, God. Help us to see you more clearly. Help us to love you better today. Help us to see your face today, Father. And we know it's possible. We know that you're going to meet us here. We know that you're going to meet the people that are watching online today. And God, you and I know, and many of us in the room know what's in store today, what you got coming up. And we just know it's going to be a powerful, powerful day. So God, open our minds, open our hearts, and let us receive whatever it is you have for us today. We love you, we love you, we love you, Jesus. And it's in your name that the church prays together, saying amen. Amen. What is good? Red Rock. Hey, if you're watching online, man, we love you guys. So grateful to have you with us today. If this is your first time, my name is Pete. I'm the lead pastor here. And if you are new in the room, if you're new online, man, we consider you part of the family. So, man, family, can we welcome anybody that's here for the first time? Celebrate them. That's a bold step, man. That's a bold step coming to church for the first time. So, man, we love you. We love you for that. We hope you have a great experience with us today. You need to mark your calendars, though, because there's a date coming up, all right? This is kind of like our soft re-entry into gathering together in preparation for August 9th. Who's hyped for August 9th? It's going to be nuts. Cannot wait. Cannot wait. August 9th, we resume our in-person gatherings, so make sure that's on your calendars. It's going to be a big day. But, man, today we've got a special treat for you. It's going to be amazing. I know it's going to be amazing because I know him. You don't know him, but I know him. We got a guest preacher with us today, and he's one of my favorite speakers, one of my favorite leaders in the world. And he has just meant the world to me. He's one of these guys that texts me nonstop, always checking in on me, always encouraging me. And I am the leader I am. I'm the man I am a lot because of his influence in my life. And so he has flown halfway across the country, leaving his family behind for a weekend to come and invest in our church and to preach to us today. And he and his family just moved to Santa Barbara, California 3 years ago to start a brand new church, Mission City Church. And if you didn't know, Santa Barbara is one of the most unchurched cities in the entire country. One of the lowest percentages of people go to church in Santa Barbara than in any city in the country. And my man felt called by God to go do it. And you know, around here, our mission is to help people discover Jesus and follow him fearlessly. And I can't think of a better example of fearlessness than my man, Jake Barker. And so he's going to come up here and deliver a powerful message to us. But man, if you're online, if you're in the room, when a guest comes and sacrifices like that for us and takes time away from this important work that God has called him to, takes time away from his family, we want to just celebrate and honor him like crazy. And so Red Rock, online, in person, let's put our hands together and welcome my man, Jake Barker, this morning. Get up here, dude.
All right, we can go ahead and have a seat. Hey, welcome to those of you that are joining online. Like Petey said, my name is Jake. I come all the way from Santa Barbara, California. If you don't know, it's about 2 hours north of LA with my wife, Trudy, and our 3 kids, 11, 9, and 5, and we love it. Like Petey said, about 3 years ago, we moved to Santa Barbara to help start a church. And so when we moved into, at that time, the largest wildfire in the history of the state of California. All right, my wife and I, we drove into our new city, and the hills were on fire. There was ash raining down on our stuff, and we realized that we had moved to hell. All right, that's actually where we had gone. All right? And then about 6 months ago, our family moved again within town. And I don't know if you know keeping track, but a global pandemic hit at the exact same time. So here's the moral of the story. If you hear that our family is moving, buckle up. All right, something crazy is about to happen. Now, over the last 2.5 years, it has been the joy of our lives. It's been wildly challenging. It's been so exciting to help start a brand new church in Santa Barbara called Mission City Church. And the people that we're after, the people that we care about, are the same people that you are those that are disconnected and unconvinced. I don't know if you know anybody like that, people that are relationally disconnected. They don't have meaningful relationships. They don't have deep relationships. It's a very shallow kind of place. And then those that are just unconvinced. And maybe they've heard the ideas and maybe they've been exposed to the teachings, but it just has yet to take root in their heart. And so every single Sunday, we create environments just like this so that those kinds of people can meet Jesus and find and follow him. And one of the coolest parts about all of this is that we know that that is your heartbeat here at Red Rock too. Is that you have neighbors and classmates and coworkers and people that you love that are either disconnected or they are yet to be convinced, and your heart breaks for them. And you desperately want them to know the hope that you have found in Jesus, and so that's why you do what you do. And sometimes it can feel a little lonely, and sometimes it can feel a little isolated when you're out there doing that, but you need to know that you have friends, you have brothers and sisters in Santa Barbara, you have friends and brothers and sisters all over the world that are after the same thing that you are, and we love doing this with you. We are on mission together, all right? Can we celebrate that right now? It's amazing. Now I have known Petey for about 20 years, right? I've known his wife, Brittany, for closer to 30. Right? So we go way, way back. And I want you to know a couple things, all right? I want you to know, I was trying to think of like all the things that I know, and I know a lot. Like a lot, all right? Like I know a lot. So if you need any of the dirt, I can share after the service. But here's what the 2 things that I want you to know. So my friend Petey, he loves Jesus, and he loves his family. And that may not sound like the resume that you would be looking for when it comes to someone that's leading a church or someone that's going to stand up and talk to you, but I'm telling you that if you can find me someone that does both of those things, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go into battle. I'm ready to fight the fight. I'm ready to have your back. I'm ready to do anything that you ask me to do if you love Jesus and you love your family. And I'm telling you that I've seen them both, up close and personal. He loves Jesus fearlessly. He loves Jesus. He has challenged me in my faith in Jesus. He has brought me up. There's not been a single human being that over the last 2.5 years has lifted my arms more in planting this church than your friend Petey Kinder. And I'm telling you that I've seen him love his family up close and personal. He loves Brittany a lot. Like they make it uncomfortable for people, how much they love each other, all right? Like that is the kind of love that they have. He loves Emmett, he loves Solomon, he loves Tatum, he loves his family. And I'm telling you, that's the stuff that gets you through the long haul, and that's the stuff that gets you through the hard times, and that's the stuff that gets you through the valleys. This is the kind of person that you want. I couldn't think of anyone that I would rather follow than him. And so you are so blessed to have him. I'm so grateful to be doing this together. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for tuning in online. Today, when PD asked me to come, he said I kind of had this blank slate as to what I wanted to talk about. And so I was trying to think of this, like, all right, what do we need to hear right here and right now? There is so much that none of us have ever experienced before. I don't know about you. This is my first pandemic. All right, I don't know. Maybe you were around for the 1918 Spanish flu. I was not. All right, this is first time. I don't know how to handle that. I don't know how to handle recessions. I don't know about house markets. I don't know about how your job has been affected. And so much of our life is out of our control. And when things like that happen, when seasons like that come along, it can leave us with the feeling of helplessness. I don't know about you, but over the last few months, I've just had this moment where I'm like, what matters right now? Like, what difference can we make? Is life just on pause for an extended period of time until we can get back to what we used to know? And it can feel like nothing can really happen in a season like that, but I'm here to tell you that while you may not be able to solve the global pandemic, and you may not be able to heal the economy, and you may not be able to fix the job market, there are things that we can work on right here and right now. Each and every one of us have a character and a life that you are building, some of you with God, some of you on your own, and we can work on our character even when we are outside of control of everything else in our lives. See, there are these things that pop up in our lives, these relationships and attitudes and behaviors and these character traits that part of following Jesus is going to work on our hearts. It's allowing God on the inside. And he's going to rewire some things, and he's going to kick some things out, and he's going to add some things. And there are often these things that pop up in our lives, and what we're going to call them today are weapons of self-destruction. These things that pop up in our life, and like, I don't like that, but it keeps happening, and I'm not sure what to do about it. So today, we're going to go after the weapon of self-destruction that is pride. We're going to go after pride. Now, that may not immediately hit you as like, oh yeah, that's me. Like, I'm in. All right, that was totally me. Because most likely, you didn't show up to this room today. You didn't roll out of bed tuning in online today thinking, you know what? I am so arrogant. Right? Like, I am conceited. I love me some me. All right, I am so proud. And the reason you don't say that out loud is because at some point, someone that loved you told you you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to be an arrogant person. You're not supposed to be a conceited person. And so very few of us self-identify as proud. But we know some proud people, don't we? Like, I'm not the proud one, but I know some proud people. When we think of pride, we think of maybe the celebrities, the ones that are driving the cars that we wish we drove, living in the houses that we wish we lived in, wearing the clothes that we wish we wore. They're the arrogant ones. I'm not arrogant. Maybe you think about the superstar athlete that beats his chest when he makes the shot and speaks in third person at the press conference. You're like, all right, that guy's full of himself. I'm not full of myself. Or maybe you think about the politician's social media feed that tells us that they're the greatest gift to the God and they have all the answers and they know everything. And you're like, all right, that person, they've got a problem. I don't have a problem, right? That's not me. And I'm sure that you're right. Like, you're probably the best, okay? But let me just ask you this one question, all right? I got a 7-day question for you. I just want you to evaluate this the last week of your life. Which human being did you think about most in the last 7 days? Out of all of them, you had like 8 billion to choose from. Which one individual did you think about the most in the last week? Well, I know your answer because I know my answer. You thought about you all week long because I thought about me all week long. Like, you guys seem awesome. I didn't think about you much at all right? Like, I was thinking about me. I was thinking about my problems. I was thinking about my calendar. I was thinking about my obstacles. I was thinking about my bills and how I'm going to pay them. I don't know if you've heard, California is expensive, all right? It is so expensive. We lived in the Midwest. Everything is free there. All right, everything. They give you cars, they give you homes, everything is free. California is so expensive, all right? I'm trying to pay the bills. I'm trying to figure out whether my boss thinks that I'm doing a good job. I'm trying to think about why my kids ended up this way, and I do not know, all right? I'm trying to process all of this, and here's what we've done is we've become the center of our own lives. And we've even created a tool that gets people to think about us while we are thinking about us. It's called the selfie. Right? It's the perfect opportunity for me to say, I'm thinking about me, and I want you to think about me while I'm thinking about me, all right? That's what that whole thing is. There's the gym selfie. I don't know if you've seen any of these pop up in your social media feed. They're saying, like, I'm at the gym and you are not, all right? I'm working out and you are not. Now, my favorite version of this is the one where there is no sweat present in the picture whatsoever, all right? They're just at a gym, and they want you to know. There was a really famous one in the 2018 Super Bowl halftime show. There was the Super Bowl selfie. I don't know if you were watching Justin Timberlake at the halftime show. He was descending the stairs, pauses next to this teenager, and what does the teenager do? The most natural teenage thing that he could possibly do, he takes a selfie with Justin Timberlake. Now, usually the point of a selfie is to let you know what I'm doing while you're not around. This guy was on TV in the most viewed program in all of America that year, and he still needed to take a selfie. Then there's the travel selfie. All right, this is the one where I'm somewhere and I want you to know it would be hypocritical for me to not say that I have done this, okay? I was in Paris, that's the Louvre, I was there, you were not. All right, I want you to know that. This is the whole point of the selfie. I'm thinking about me and I want you to think about me while I am thinking about me. Now, so often we think of pride as someone else's problem, and here's what we're trying to grapple with. And I think it's a universal human experience that we're really trying to understand. And it's this one question that we want to answer today. How should we see ourselves? Can you answer that question? Like, what is the proper way? What is the healthy way? What is the Jesus-informed way for us to truly understand our worth and our identity and our value? I don't know your personal story all that well, but what I do know is you're wrestling with this, because I'm wrestling with this. Every single one of us wake up every single day, and we're just not sure if we're okay. And so how do we know that we are okay? How should we see ourselves? And in order to figure this out, we're going to hang out in this book of the Bible called 1 Corinthians. And so if you have a Bible or a Bible app and you want to hang out there, you're more than welcome to get a head start. We're going to be in chapter 3. And this book of the Bible, it was written by a guy named Paul. And Paul was the OG of church planning. He was the GOAT. He started it all. What he would do is he would move into a city, meet as many people as he possibly could, tell them about Jesus, help them start a church, and then get this, he would leave and do it all over again in some other city. I'm in the middle of starting a church right now. I could not imagine doing it again. And Paul just kept doing it over and over and over. And all throughout the New Testament, we have these letters that Paul would write back to the churches that he helped start. And especially this one to this people that lived in Corinth, he was finding that they needed some realignment. That's pretty generous. They had gotten off track, and there were things that they were doing that weren't making a whole lot of sense. And so he writes them this letter and says, hey, you know better. I taught you. I raised you up. You need to get your head back in the game. And in this chapter, chapter 3, what he's doing is he's addressing this fight that was starting to rumble in the church. Now, maybe you're new to church and that's surprising to you. You thought like everyone in church just got along. Or maybe you've been a part of a church for like 5 minutes and you found out differently, all right? There are still wildly imperfect people within the church. Here's the battle that was happening. There was 2 groups of people within this church that were fighting for authority. They were fighting for leadership. They were fighting for platform. One group of people said, hey, we know Paul. He helped start the church. He wrote this letter. Like, because we have access to Paul, that makes us the most qualified. It makes us the most trained. Really what they were saying is it makes us the most special. And so we should be in charge. There was another group of people in the same church that were saying, no, we know Apollos. Apollos was another church leader, wildly gifted communicator, incredibly influential. And they said, because we know Apollos, we're the most qualified. We're the most trained. We're the most special. And so Team Paul had the P on their shirt and they had the pom-pom. They're like, we're Team Paul. Then Team A over here, Team Apollos. They were saying, no, we deserve the whole thing. And what Paul's going to do right now is he's going to address this drama that was happening in the church. And even more so, he is going to present to us the way that he sees himself. He's going to show us the way he understands his value, his identity, his worth. And it is so different than anything that most of us have ever considered. It is so far off the map than most of us have ever been trained in. And if we can take it seriously, take Paul at his word that this is possible, it could change everything. So let's read it together. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 21. Here's how he goes. It says, so don't boast about following a particular human leader. For everything belongs to you, whether Paul or Apollos or Peter or the world or life and death or the present and the future. Everything belongs to you, and you belong to Christ, and Christ belongs to God. As for me, it matters very little how I might be evaluated by you or by any human authority. I don't even trust my own judgment on this point. My conscience is clear, but that doesn't prove I'm right. It is the Lord himself who will examine me and decide. So don't make judgments about anyone ahead of time before the Lord returns, for he will bring our darkest secrets to light and will reveal our private motives. Then God will give to each one whatever praise is due. For what gives you the right to make such a judgment? What do you have that God hasn't given you? And if everything you have is from God, why boast as though it were not a gift? Paul's coming into this drama, this argument that's brewing in the life of the Corinthian church, and he's saying, guys, this does not matter. It does not matter whether you're Team Paul or Team Apollos, we're on the same team. It'd be like Lakers fans saying, no, I'm Team LeBron or I'm Team Anthony Davis. Like, no, they're on the same team. You're rooting for the same thing. Like, get on the same page. And here's what was happening in that church. And I believe that if you'll be honest, it's happened in your life too. They weren't really secure. Have you ever felt insecure? Have you ever not really known like what value you bring? Have you not ever been like totally confident in your own abilities or the way other people saw you? And so what you did is you just tried to grab something in your life that made you special. Like, this makes me special, and so therefore that's my identity. This is different about me, and so therefore that's why I matter. And all they were doing is operating out of their insecurity and saying, the only thing that I know that makes me cool is I'm Team Paul. The only one that knows that makes me feel valuable is I'm Team Apollos. And Paul's saying that doesn't matter at all. We're on the same team. See, what pride is this overinflated ego. It's an overinflated ego. It's when we try to fill our lives, try to fill our self-view beyond its proper proportions, maybe even to the moment where it would bust. And so what we do every once in a while in our lives is we try to fill our self-view and try to puff ourselves up with things that make us really special. And so maybe you show up to work and you take a survey of all of your coworkers, and you come to the very humbled conclusion that you are by far the most gifted employee at this company. You have more training, you have more talent, you have more ideas, and so it kind of puffs you up. And then maybe sometimes, and if we're being super honest, you saw on Facebook that this couple that you've known for a long time, they've been married just as long as you have, and it looks like they split up. And you look at your marriage and you're so happy and you're so on the same page and you feel so romantic, and it kind of puffs you up. Then you look at someone else's kids and you see what they're posting on social media. You hear about what party they were at on Friday night. And you look at your kids and think, they would never. And then you come to a room like this, or maybe you tune in online and you're just locked in. Man, me and God, me and Jesus, we are best friends. Like, I'm totally locked in. I'm feeling the power of the Spirit. Like, this feels so good, and it puffs us up. And what this is the traditional expression of pride, which is superiority. See, when I'm on shaky ground and I'm not really sure if I'm okay and I'm not really sure if I matter, what I do is I start playing this game called the comparison game. You ever played that game? It's so much fun. You look at other people and you compare your life to their life, and sometimes you compare up and you say, you know what, I'm doing all right compared to that guy. Compared to that guy I went to high school with, compared to that guy that lives down the street, I am doing great. And what we're trying to do is figure out, does my life matter? Do I have any value? And so we take anything that we can that makes us feel special and we puff ourselves up. This is the traditional view of pride. But it's not the only view of pride. See, there's actually an opposite end to superiority, and it's inferiority. See, if what we do in our lives to build our lives is use things that are temporary, use things that we're actually not in control of to define ourselves, eventually they may go away. So one day you show up to work and that idiot coworker in the cubicle next to you, he gets the promotion that you deserved, and it deflates you. And then eventually that marriage that used to be so romantic, and you guys didn't have to even go on a date. You could just sit on the couch and talk for hours, and you can't even remember the last meaningful conversation that you had, and it deflates us. Then all of a sudden our kids start posting the same things and going to the same parties, and we're deflated. And then you show up to a room like this, or you tune in online, and you cannot remember the last meaningful moment that you had with God. That season is gone, and it is over, and it seems so quiet. And here's my guess. So some of you watching right now, some of you in the room, you just feel deflated. Is anybody tired? Are you tired of trying to figure out what's going to happen next? You're tired of figuring out what's true? Tired of trying to have all this extra pressure on your life, and we feel empty. And it's not just us. It's not like just normal people. In fact, some of the most successful people in all of the world have expressed the exact same sentiment. In an interview with Vogue magazine, Madonna has a quote that hits this right on the head. Now, if you're under the age of 30, Madonna is a musical artist, okay? Ask your mom and dad about her. They loved her, all right? They loved her. And in this interview, here's what she said. See if this doesn't sound familiar. You may not believe this. You have something in common with Madonna. Here's what she said. My drive in life comes from a fear of being mediocre that is always pushing me. I push past one spell of it and discover myself as a special human being, but then I feel I am still mediocre and uninteresting unless I do something else. Because even though I've become somebody, I still have to prove that I am somebody. My struggle has never ended, and I guess it never will. Madonna is the wealthiest woman in the music industry with an estimated net worth of between $600 and $800 million. She has sold over 300 million records worldwide. She has 12 number one songs, and it is not enough. Did you hear what she said? I mean, it crushed me. She said, even though I have become somebody, I still have to prove that I am somebody. Does anyone resonate with that? On a daily basis, I'm always trying to prove myself. And what Paul's coming alongside, and what he wants you to hear right now, and what he's trying to convince me of as well, is that there is a third way. It's not puffing ourselves up to feel superior. It's not deflating ourselves to feel inferior. There's a third way of understanding who we are and how we ought to see ourselves. You've already read it. We're going to read it one more time, verses 3 and 4. He says, as for me, it matters very little how I might be evaluated by you or by any human authority. I don't even trust my own judgment on this point. My conscience is clear, but that doesn't prove I'm right. It is the Lord himself who will examine me and decide. What Paul's trying to do, he's saying it's not puffing ourselves up, it's not deflating us, there is a different way. First thing Paul said right there, and I don't know if you caught it, here's what he said. He said, what you think about me is not most important. The opinions of other people are not the most important thing about who we are. When you go to work, the opinions of your coworkers are not defining of who you are. Students, hear me on this. The opinions of your classmates, the number of likes on your TikTok, The rumors that are spread behind your back, they are not the most important thing about you. The opinions of others do not define our value and who we are. In fact, I just want you to hear yourself say this so that you can believe it, okay? So what I'm going to do, if you're in the room, I'm going to have you turn to the person that you're sitting next to. You're going to repeat this after me. If you're watching online and with someone else, I want you to say it to them. If you're watching online by yourself, I want you to randomly text someone without any context this information, all right? Here we go. I want you to say this. I'm going to count you down. What you think about me, you're going to look them in the eye. What you think about me is not most important. 1, 2, 3, go. All right. Doesn't that feel good? It's like therapeutic. It's finally getting it off our chest. Some of you were a little too aggressive in the way you said that, all right? You need to chill out. Disrespecting your mothers, it's not nice, all right? But what you think about me is not most important. Can you imagine? Just play this imaginary game for me for a minute. Where no longer did the people in your life hold rule over your self-esteem. Hold rule over whether you mattered. That is so liberating. That's what Paul says. But he doesn't stop there. He says, what you think about me is not most important, and what I think about me is not most important. I don't know if you caught that. He said, look, my conscience is clean. I have a good self-esteem. I feel good about myself, but I am not the judge of myself. He's saying, my self-view, my own self-view is warped. It's twisted. And so I cannot trust it. Now, in our culture, in our today, and all pop culture and everything that we hear, this is the message that we usually get. Believe in yourself. Bet on yourself. Find it from within. It's some real R. Kelly, Space Jam, I believe I can fly stuff, all right? Like, if you can do it, you can see it, you can fly, all right? This is you. But what Paul is saying is that our own self-view is actually really, really shaky. Just maybe I'm the only one. Have you ever had one of those days to where in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night, you felt very differently about yourself depending on what hour it was? I know I have. From day to day, from month to month, I change what I think about me. And so if that is the foundation on which I am building, that is shaky ground. So I want you to hear yourself say it. I want you to believe it. So I'm going to count you down. I want you to say it online. I want you to say it here in the room. What I think about me is not most important. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, we're going to try that again because you didn't enjoy that one as much, all right? You liked the other one where you got mad at people, but you didn't like that one, all right? That didn't feel as good, but I'm serious. You have to believe this. It cannot be the foundation for our life. So we're going to try again. I'm not joking, all right? Online, in the room, 1, 2, 3. What I think about me is not most important. It's just not. So if it's not what you think, and it's not what I think, then whose thoughts matter? Who gets to tell me? And it's what God thinks about me is most important. Now, here's the thing, is that this is confusing sometimes because there are a lot of variations as to what God thinks about you. There are a lot of rumors. There are a lot of stories. You've probably heard a lot of them as to how God really feels about you. We're going to turn to his word. Romans chapter 8, verse 1. Here's what Paul writes. He says, so that there is no condemnation for those who belong to Christ Jesus. This is what Paul is communicating. Here's what he's saying. You are no longer on trial. You're no longer on trial. You're no longer on trial in the court of public opinion. You're no longer on trial of trying to prove that you are worthy to God. Those cases are over. Settled once and for all. Man, friends, I'm just telling you, I've spent so much of my life trying to be the person that other people wanted me to be. Anyone else? Trying to say the words, trying to look the part, trying to play the game. And it's exhausting. It never wins. I've also had those moments where I look to God and say, God, I'm going to get it right this time, I promise. I know I failed the other 9,999,000, but this is the one. I got it. And the thing is that God is not asking that of you. So often we feel like we have this imaginary prosecutor in the courtroom of our life that is shouting us down and telling us of who we are not, reminding us of what we did, bringing back up those words that we said. And that is not the reality that God paints in his word. He is saying that the verdict is in, it is not guilty. Not because of anything that you and I did on our behalf, not because we finally got it right, not because we were finally good enough, but because what Jesus did on our behalf. Man, I don't know what you've been told, but let me just say this as clearly as possible. The good news of Jesus is this, is that God sent his son to this earth to live the life that you and I were supposed to live. He died the death we deserve to die and paid the price for our sin that we could not pay. He made us right with God, gave us the only reward that he could earn. God, we are settled. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone else in your life. You don't have to prove yourself to God. It is over, not guilty. And now we get to live in the freedom of that conclusion. We get to live in the freedom of not having to prove anyone anymore. See, the key to battling pride is not thinking less of ourselves. That's not the solution to pride. Sometimes people will say that I'm going to take you down a notch, right? You got too much pride. You're not that smart. You're not that pretty. You're not that talented. Right? That's not helpful. That's just deflating. The key to battling pride is not thinking less of ourselves. It's thinking of ourselves less. It's to where I am no longer at the center of me. Not because I'm good and not because I figured it out, not because I'm living a better life, but because I know what Jesus did for me and I don't have to prove anything anymore. So imagine this. Imagine waking up one day and your first thought isn't about you. Doesn't that sound wild? Imagine showing up to a family gathering and your personal desires and your wants aren't the thing that you're trying to manipulate everyone else to agree with. Isn't that wild? Imagine being called to speak out for people that can't speak up for themselves, and you're no longer worried about the consequences of what other people will think. You just know what God has said, and so you're willing to be bold and courageous. What we're describing here is the freedom of self-forgetfulness. Anybody else want that? The freedom of self-forgetfulness to where no longer do I have to prove to you or to anyone else that I'm valuable. No longer do I have to show up and be the best so that someone will care about me. No longer do I have to stand in front of a God that I think is shouting me down as the prosecutor across the courtroom. Instead, here's what I get to know, is that when Jesus paid the price for me, he set me free, but that wasn't only. What he did is he adopted me into God's family. Here's who Jesus says that you are. You are a much loved, much forgiven, and much free daughter and son of God. You're not just forgiven, you're in the family. You have the perfect dad that's not asking you to prove anything, not earn anything, but live free. And that's the life that God wants for you, for the people that you know, the people that you love. A life of freedom. I don't have to earn anything. I don't have to prove anything. I get to live free. Friends, I want to pray that over you today, that you will take God at his word. He's not tricking you. He's not holding out on you. There's no other foot to come down. This is the reality. This is the good news. And we get to accept it today. Let me pray. Father, we are so grateful for your word that sets us free. Yes, it confronts us, and yes, it calls us out, and yes, it tells us who we really are, but we know we need it. It's good for us. We know it's good when you tell us the truth, and we know it's good when you tell us who we are, and the reason that you're doing that is as a loving Father that wants us to live the best life. God, help us grow in our trust in you. Help us grow in our belief in your word. Help us take this to heart and live free. Father, we love you. We trust you. Help us grow in those two things. It's in your name I pray. Amen.
Let faith rise up, oh heart, believe. Let faith rise up in me. So let faith rise up, oh heart, believe. Let faith rise up in me. Come on, we sing it out. So let faith rise up, oh heart, believe. Let faith rise up in me. Oh, let faith rise up, oh heart, believe. Let faith rise up in me. Peace be still. Say the word, and I will set my feet upon the sea till I'm dancing in the deep. Oh, peace be still. You are here, so it is well. Even when my eyes can't see, I will trust the voice that speaks. Peace over me. Peace over
Man, can we celebrate and honor Jake for that message he brought us today? That's a powerful message, man. Hey, you just need to know if you're listening and you're new to this whole stuff, if you are just feeling like, man, that is not what I ever thought of when I thought of God, you need to know that that experience you're having right now is a very similar experience to so many of us in this room and some of us watching online right now. That when you first start hearing about who God really is and who Jesus really is and the love he has for you, it starts wrecking your life. And so, man, if you need to talk with somebody, if you need to pray with somebody, head to the info bar. You can find that through our website, redrockchurch.org. We'd love to talk with you more about that. And, man, we're just praying that, like Jake said, that this can be a week where we go out and we live that life of self-forgetfulness. That we get to go to our neighborhoods, we get to go to our homes, we get to go to our communities and not think about ourselves, but think about loving others like Jesus has loved us. And so, man, let's get out there and let's do that this week. We love you guys like crazy. We'll see you back here next Sunday. We love you guys. Peace.